Hello, my name is Mr. Potts. I'm the dad of Madeline, Katerina, and Nathaniel, husband of Mrs. Potts. Um, Miss May had me come in and talk about rocks when Katerina was in her class. So I was really pleased when she asked me to make a little video for you all. So I'm going to be talking about the three types of rocks, and I'm also going to be talking about the properties of rocks. So the very first type of rock is igneous. And the igneous rocks are they're either intrusive or extrusive. Intrusive meaning inside the earth when they're formed, and extrusive is outside the earth when they're formed. So essentially magma, when it cools, it's then the rock is called igneous, and the most common form of course is granite, which these are really beautiful examples from Lake Michigan. Now, a really cool example of an igneous intrusive rock is this basalt. This basalt came from the Upper Peninsula, and you see all these holes in it? The basalt is this brown color, the matrix of the rock, and these holes are from the gas in the rock, in the lava, I should say, while it's cooling, and it cooled so quickly, it left some holes behind. Now, what's neat about this is that if you can see, there's some other rocks that have and minerals that have formed with it, and that is orange or maybe pink. It's a feldspar, and then maybe those white crystals in there could be, it could be quartz or calcite or something. I'm not positive, but that's really neat. So I got this in the Upper Peninsula. So that means there was lava in the Upper Peninsula. I know it's kind of hard to wrap your head around that. Okay, so when igneous rocks are weathered, meaning they're exposed to the atmosphere and over time they break down, and so you probably heard about this, but it's the sedimentary rocks. And so we have several types of sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks are of the kind where when sand or silt or mud, they kind of form, and they're layers on top of layers most of the time. Sometimes they're just the one type of material, like some just sand, but it's compacted and then becomes a stone. And some examples are the fossiliferous limestone. Maybe you've seen these fossils when you've gone to the beach. I think they're kind of interesting. And the most famous fossil rock in Michigan here is the Petoskey stone. It used to be a coral from the Devonian period. And then I've got a silt stone here, which is silt meaning just really fine material. Then it's all these bands. I mean, there's different types of materials in each band. So one was laid on top of the other one, and that's how that gets formed. This is a sandstone that I got off of the beach, and that's why it's so smooth. But the two different colors you'll notice is an indication that this is a Jacobsville sandstone, only found in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It's really a neat stone. Now this one, it might look like it's igneous or metamorphic, but it is a sedimentary rock. And you may be able to see these bands. They're kind of curved, and there's this is called a banded iron formation because there's a big formation of rocks that this came from in the Upper Peninsula. The nickname is Biff, so banded iron formation, Biff. I think that's fun. And this is where the iron came when it was mined in the Upper Peninsula. And so they would grind this up because this purple one is a chert, and that's just a silicon rock, which is like not worth much for the making of iron, but they would take this and melt it down and to get the iron out, and that is that story. But sedimentary, even though it's kind of shiny and it looks like it might not be shiny, that's a property. Okay, so let's talk about metamorphic. The metamorphic rock that I have from the Upper Peninsula is a schist. It's called, this one's a garnet schist, and these holes are not naturally occurring. Nathaniel and I were drilling holes trying to get some of these garnets out, and if you can see those crystalline sides, those are the natural occurring crystals that are in this rock. I think that is super neat. Also found, like I said, in the Upper Peninsula. So that's fantastic. So when we talk about the properties, some of them we talk about color, streak, luster, and hardness, among others. But we talk about these in order to help us differentiate, tell the rocks apart, because sometimes they are very similar. So I have a kit here that I bought when I was in college, and one of the things that you'll find in the kit is different ways to identify what a rock is. So this is a magnet. As we know, some rocks are magnetic. There's a piece of glass and a piece of porcelain, and when you're looking to get the streak of a rock, you scratch it against this, and when it leaves a color, you identify that as having a black, brown, whatever, red, no streak, and that's one of the properties that helps you know which kind of rock it is. And then you'll go through, does it scratch glass? And not all of them scratch glass. Let me take this because it show you the hardness. Maybe you've heard the Mohs hardness scale already. And so that is 10 different hardnesses ranging from talc, which is this soft one right here, all the way up to the hard one of diamond. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they wouldn't put a diamond in a kit, would they? So we're not going to find that in here, but we get it. That's the hard one. But all these other ones, so there's like I said, talc. You probably heard talcum powder. It's very soft, and see how this kind of almost a waxy looking rock. And then the fluorite, which is the number 4, but it has really neat crystalline fracture. Fracture is a property that it just naturally cracks off. Well, you can see kind of a concordia, which is a kind of rounded glass type fracture, but these angles here, that's the natural crystalline shape of the fluorite. And you'll see some other ones. This is quartz, 7, I mean. Quartz, this is I'm sure manufactured because it's so nicely crystalline. This little one here is a topaz, number 8. And number 9, I think, is neat because, boy, it doesn't look like much, does it? It doesn't. It is very shiny, glassy almost. Well, this is corundum. It's right up there underneath the diamond. This corundum is where sapphires and rubies come from. Now, this is not an example of that because it's kind of not so awesome looking, but all the same, very, very hard rock. So the interesting thing is that you can take a look at rocks, you can have an idea of what it is, and when you've got your field guide with you, you'll be able to look up some of the properties that then helps you identify what the rocks are, because they're not always going to be this nice looking, are they? Nope. When you find them out in the field, they are going to be really rough and not as easy to identify, but all the same. Okay, so there's 3 main types of rocks: the igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. And then when we talk about the properties of rocks, we're definitely talking about ways to identify the rocks if we don't right away know what it is. Color, of course, is an easy one. Sometimes there's got pink in it. Sometimes it has other things in it. But rocks and minerals will have a streak and a luster. The luster is the color, not the color, but the way it looks. Like I said, glassy, waxy. Those are lusters. And then the hardness, of course, we can test by seeing if the rocks are harder or softer than these rocks. One of the ways to know if something's harder or not is to take the rock, and if you take this number 5 and you scratch this one, the 5 would scratch the 4, not the other way around. And so that's how you know which ones are harder. Okay, so you've got properties and you have the different types, and that is my examples, all from the state of Michigan. And thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.